Philando Castile'S senseless murder spurred by Justice Clarence Thomas. Goodbye, Fourth Amendment. Philando Castile'S senseless murder spurred by Justice Clarence Thomas. Goodbye, Fourth Amendment. Thank you for tuning in to Laurel at the Black Political Buzz Network. This past Wednesday, 33-year-old Philando Castile was murdered in cold blood by some police officers who stopped him. It was during a traffic stop that 33-year-old Philando Castile was shot and murdered in cold blood by some trigger-happy police officers. Now, before I proceed, please know this is not a video about hating cops, because I don't hate police officers. I don't hate cops at all. I have no hate in my heart towards any cops or police officers, because most police officers, they have a good heart. Most police officers are not racist, and most police officers are servicing their communities with the best intentions to protect all citizens. So please know I am not advocating that anyone should go out there and commit violence against a police officer. That is not the answer to the solution, to the problem, That is not the solution to the problem. Harming a police officer is not the solution. That's not right. Please, I do not advocate that. However, there are some bad apples in the barrel, just as there is in any profession. Just as there is in any profession, you're going to have a few bad apples in the barrel. And in this instance, there were some bad apples in the barrel that afternoon when Philando Castile was murdered during a routine traffic stop. Now, granted, Philando Castile was legally carrying a concealed weapon. He was legally carrying a concealed weapon. He had a permit. It was not an illegal weapon. He didn't put the weapon on the officers. In fact, he posed no physical threat to the officers. I repeat, although Philando Castile, 33-year-old young black man, was legally carrying a concealed weapon, he did not pull that weapon on the officers who stopped him. He posed no physical threat to those officers who shot him in cold blood. So please don't use that as an excuse. It's quite clear that Mr. Philando Castile, was killed because of the color of his skin. He was killed because he was a black man, and there were some trigger-happy white cops who felt a need to shoot him and kill him, fatally wounding him. He was fatally wounded, bled to death after being shot. There and again, I am not preaching hate on this video, so don't go there, because I don't hate cops at all. But there needs to be change. So what do we do? What do black people, what do we, black citizens in America, in 21st century America, what kind of change can we expect? This has happened time and time and time again. It's just that this time, in this instance, the black man was armed. He had a gun on his person. But it was illegally, he was carrying the gun legally, but he did not pull it on the cops. It was not pulled out on the cops. And he told the cops he was carrying the gun. He told the cops he had a gun. So he was trying to comply with the law. He let the cops know that he had a gun. He pulled over his car. He did not try to fight the cops, curse the cops out, spit on the cops, none of that stuff. Kick the cops, hit the cops. He wasn't doing any of those actions when he was shot and killed in cold blood. Now, U.S. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, another black man, U.S. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, another black man, on June 20th, he wrote a concurring consenting opinion, in which he agreed with several other members of the U.S. Supreme Court that it is legally allowable for a police officer to seize evidence during an illegal stop. So it is now legal for a police officer anywhere in the United States of America, anywhere in the USA, to stop someone illegally and seize evidence found in their car or on their body. Where previously the Fourth Amendment protected citizens from such type of searches. Now, the Fourth Amendment has really been somewhat eliminated. So the Fourth Amendment no longer exists because of this concurring consenting opinion, which was majority written by a black man named Clarence Thomas, who is a U.S. Supreme Court Justice. So here on June 20th, we have this decision that was handed down by the U.S. Supreme Court. And then on July 6th, 2016, we have another black man, Philando Castile'S, who was murdered during a traffic stop. How ironic. I think not. It's not ironic. This kind of stuff is going to continue now that that decision has been handed down by the U.S. Supreme Court, which basically eliminates the power of the Fourth Amendment in the U.S. Constitution. More black men are going to experience this. More black people, especially black men, are going to be victims of this type of activity and police brutality. So what do black people in America, what can we expect now? Should we continue demonstrating and marching? Well, that seems to be an outdated, futile, resolution to this problem. Demonstrating and protesting, that's outdated. What about riots? Riots are very destructive. They serve no true purpose. They don't resolve an issue. What about going to the polls and voting for the right elected officials in office and the right president in November of 2016? Now, I know many of y'all are going to say, what? Are you serious, Laurel? How is this going to affect change? Because you keep voting until you get the right people in office. You don't give up on the system. You don't give up on the political system, even though it's rigged, even though politics in America is rigged. We know that. You still don't give up on the system. Even though the criminal justice system in America is rigged, you still don't give up on the system. You keep working to improve the system by voting for the right people to be in office and holding your elected officials accountable. If you sit down and don't do anything but riot, complain, or, these old sorry protests and demonstrations, then how much change do you think is going to occur? Very little, if any. Change is made by policy. Policies are effected or drafted or established by human beings. Policies are established by human beings. If you hear a bell in the background, that's okay. I'm standing by a bell. That's all right. Without human beings, there are no policies established. You have to put the right people in office. In November of 2016, we have a crucial election occurring. Another election to elect a president of our nation. The next president of our nation will be chosen in November of 2016. We must hold our elected officials and leaders accountable. We must go to the polls and vote for the right people. But before the election occurs, you go to the candidates, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, and you talk to them. You compel them to answer your questions about what are they going to do about police brutality. I'll say it again. Before November of 2016, you must go to Hillary Clinton and Donald J. Trump. Go to their headquarters. Go to their headquarters if need be. And you ask them, what are your policies for police brutality in America? For stopping and curbing police brutality in America, especially in the black community. And listen to their answer. And then November, go to the polls and vote. Don't riot, don't complain, don't sit home Get out there and make some policy happen. And also, when you have the right president in office, they can pick justices for the U.S. Supreme Court who will be fair. Justices who are not numb to the plight of regular people. Because most of our Supreme Court justices, they live in a bubble. They're not living in the real world that you and I live in. So if you want change, get off your butt, go to the polls, hold our officials, elected officials accountable, and ask them what is their policy for curbing police brutality in America, especially in the black communities. Philando Castile'S senseless murder, spurred by Justice Clarence Thomas. What are we going to do about our black voters? What are black voters going to do about it? Thank you for tuning in to Laurel at the Black Political Buzz Network. Goodbye.